teachers and the staff in Connecticut. Thank you. And you join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
He's Ryan's going to take it out. He's got cups and he's going to
Okay. I'd like to call our meeting to order tonight. Betsy, would you call the roll, please?
I note that all board members are in attendance this evening, with the exception of Lisa Weitzel and Alan Harley.
Okay, thank you. We are going to postpone looking at the minutes that coming out of closed session from tonight, so we have no items coming out of closed session. I need a motion then to approve the agenda as presented in your board packet tonight.
I move.
Thank you, Steve. And a second, please.
Second.
Thank you. And all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And next we have our good news reports. Mrs. Alstein.
Okay, and first I'll introduce Athletic Director, Assistant Principal Ryan Green to introduce some very special students to us.
Thank you. Good evening. Tonight we have our third place 7th grade girls basketball team here. I'd like to introduce our coach, Caitlin Barrett. She's going to come up and say a few things about the girls and the season.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming in. I know it's not for us, but we still feel pretty special. We ended up, I want to say 22-5. And I mean, these girls, as nice as they clean up, they're tough. It's a tough bunch. And they're scrappers, and I'm really proud to say that they're my 14 girls, and we came out, and only 2 teams in their season on a win, and we were one of them, and really proud to be able to say that. So, now we'll go through and list their names. Okay, Paige Beckerman.
And if you guys will stay kind of up here so we can get a picture of, is that okay? If
Sure.
they'll kind of stand along the table. We'll get a picture of you all
Lauren
together.
Bima. Mackenzie Bray. Hannah Brown. Storm Kasad. Cecilia Curran. CC. Kiara Downey. Haley Eisenagel. Michaela Kolaski. Alyssa Kenny. Sierra Lar. Rachel Layton. Emma Speaks. Mary. Meg Wiseman. I don't know where's Mary, so that's weird.
Good job.
Thank you.
Unless everybody's, wait a second, yeah, make sure everybody's got their pictures.
Mr. Green, it's my understanding too that these students are all on honor roll.
That's right.
Yes, let's say if we had a
Yeah, that
all
deserves a round of applause.
Eighth grade as well. I think all but one eighth grader is on the honor roll.
Wonderful.
Very good.
Wonderful.
All right.
Keep up the good work.
Great job. Thank you, girls.
Good job, girls. Thank you.
Why don't we keep
And they don't have to stay.
And unless you really want to stay at our board meeting tonight, you really
You don't have to stay.
He was looking forward to the food at the banquet.
Okay. You want to?
Just the first one.
Okay.
Do you want to introduce Holly? And John and Bob are here to give her an award, so you can introduce them.
Yep, I'd be glad to.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right. Let's see.
Actually, the next one is Julie, I believe.
Next one, okay. Then 5-2, Ms. Carey.
And we have another certificate to award to Julie McAllister. Is Julie here? Oh, there she is. Hi, Julie. Come on up. She is the Coach of the Year for the Girls on the Run. And I'd actually like, do you want to say a few words about what the Girls on the Run does?
Yeah,
And we thank you for your service to the students.
Girls on the Run is a national program. It's a self-esteem building program. It's for girls in 3rd grade through 8th grade. They have different levels of the program. And we started Girls on the Run at Chatham 2 years ago. And we're getting ready to start our 3rd season. So far, all the schools have only run one of this. They do a fall and a spring session. So far, we've only done the spring sessions because the falls are so busy. But the girls have done a great job. We have fabulous, it's all volunteer. The coaches all volunteer their time and their effort. Fabulous girls. It's a fabulous program. It culminates at the end of the program in a 5K run at Washington Park. It's a fun run. It's a fundraiser that helps raise the money. There is a fee for the girls to participate, but they offer a scholarship to any student who wants to participate who can't afford it. So it's just a really neat program, and it goes right along with all the ideals that I feel are so important as a school counselor, in that you're building their self-esteem, building their self-worth, encouraging them to be the best they can, acknowledging that they're all beautiful in their own ways. We all have gifts and talents, and so it's something that I feel very passionate about, and the award was a nomination for the kid. And I had no clue that she was going to write the letter, so it was a shock, a surprise, and it was very touching. So.
Yeah, it was a wonderful phone call when a student nominates a staff member that's taken upon herself to volunteer, and also rally up more volunteers. And other schools in our district also has this after-school program. But then to also be not only nominated, but to win the Coach of the Year, and she will be recognized at a national conference. So we're very proud of her.
Thank you.
Mr. Lovelace?
And then Mr.
we have
Lovelace, yes.
2 special visitors we'd like you to introduce.
Good evening. Recognition that we don't often get to make this kind of recognition with our transportation staff. So I want to introduce some folks this evening, and I'll try not to steal any thunder, gentlemen. But Holly, would you come up for just a second up here? Holly Teasman, and now Snell, recently is a bus driver for the district, and you've seen some recent articles about stop arm issues that we've been having around our district, and Holly had a very serious incident not too long ago out on Iron Bridge Road, where a student was preparing to get off the bus, and through some quick thinking of Holly, she saved a student from possibly some serious injury. So we want to recognize her, and I've got a couple gentlemen here from an organization that also assists us with stop arm violations. John Davidson is the president of SAVE. John, come on up, please. Bob Edwards, I believe, is the vice president of the same organization, and I think they have a presentation they'd like to make to Holly as well. So, Holly, why don't you step up there?
I'm John Davidson, president of SAVE. SAVE stands for Stop Arm Violation Education and Enforcement. We're a national not-for-profit corporation. We've been in existence for 12 years. We're trying to make school bus stops safer. And believe it or not, national safety groups have declared that school bus stops in the United States are the most dangerous place for students on a school day. There are an average of 24 children killed at school bus stops every school year in the United States, and nearly 7,000 injured. And so we're trying to work to, we have presentations we give to any group that wants them, driver's education groups, civic groups, whatever, on driving safely around school buses. And we wanted to present Holly with a plaque for her diligence in preventing, you want to come up here? This young lady from being injured or killed. Bob, you want to read that letter?
Okay. Let me begin this by saying that heroes are not born, they're not made. They are ordinary people that do extraordinary things when the time comes to do. To Holly Snell, on November 14th of 2012, Holly had stopped her school bus on Iron Bridge Road to let a student off. A car came up behind the school bus at a high rate of speed just as the student was about to step off the bus. The car went off the road to the right, and Holly, realizing what was happening, closed the bus door in front of the student, preventing her from stepping off the bus. The car went through the ditch to the right of the bus. If Holly had not closed the door, the student would have stepped off the bus into the path of the car. Holly's actions prevented the student from injury or death. One of the school bus driver's responsibilities is the safety of their students, and Holly lived up to that responsibility. Congratulations and well done. President of SAVE, John Davidson.
Which says the plaque's presented to Holly Snell for her extraordinary actions as a school bus driver on November the 14th, 2012 in saving one of her students from a serious injury or death. There you go. Bob and I are both school bus drivers in Chatham also. And there's a certificate for you as well. So thanks.
Great job.
Thank you. And thank the board for their time.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Have a good night.
It's a pleasure.
Holly, thanks.
Wow.
Moving on, we have our next item here is another good news report from Standard & Poor's.
Hard to follow that.
Yeah, it's very tough.
The district is very pleased to release the good news that the district's AA stable rating from S&P was confirmed. And this is very good news for our bonds, obviously, and we're very pleased with the fact that S&P recognized the fact that the district, while we're deficit spending, has made pretty concerted efforts to cut back in costs and make reductions that are necessary. And so their recognition of that and our confirmation of our AA rating is extremely important to the district.
And I think we did sell our...
We did.
Carrie and Art.
And Patrick and Betsy as well. So, and then our representatives from Stiefel, Nicholas, and PMA for all their hard work on that, because it's quite a process as we're learning. So, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Prutter.
And those bonds were sold?
The bonds were sold on December 12th. Yeah. So, our first series of bonds were sold on December 12th. So, thanks again to the community for the support of those bond sales.
All right, our next item is this opportunity for visitors to address the school board concerning any agenda topic. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board tonight on agenda topic? Okay, thank you. Next, we have our consent agenda items 6.1 through 6.9. And is there anybody who wishes to pull any item off of that for individual consideration? Yeah. If not, I need a motion then to approve our consent agenda 6.1 through 6.9 as presented this evening. And John, thank you. Second, please.
Second.
Rick, thank you. And Betsy, call the roll, please.
Spielmeyer.
Yes.
Carter. Yes. Cox.
Yes.
Prutter.
Yes.
Nusess.
Yes. Next is our personnel consent items, 7.1 through 7.9. Is there anybody who, well, let me put it this way. I want to pull 7.3 off of that for individual consideration and some comments by the superintendent. So is there anybody else who wishes to pull anything else off?
I'll pull 7.4 off.
7.4 off, okay. 7.3 and 7.4. Anything else? Okay, then if there is nothing else, then I need a motion then to approve the personnel consent agenda items exclusive of 7.3 and 7.4 as presented in your board packet tonight.
I move.
Thank you, Steve. And a second, please.
I second.
Thank you, Linda. And Betsy, call the roll, please.
Carter? Yes. Kopp?
Yes.
Quetter?
Aye.
Petermeyer?
Yes.
Nusis?
Yes. All right, 7.3 is the resignation of a GHS social studies teacher and Key Club sponsor. Do you want to make some comments on this?
Yeah, this is a position that when we're looking at staffing, one of the things that we're looking at is the potential for absorbing this position. And we've taken it, the board's directive, pretty seriously in that we need to cut costs where we can. And this is one that we're analyzing currently to determine whether or not it can be absorbed or if it needs to be replaced. So I just wanted to kind of give the board an update on that position.
So there's no, as usual, or under normal circumstances, we would have someone replacing or taking over a hire to counteract this resignation, but at this time, we're not doing that to take a further look at positions as we've talked about in the past. So I need then a motion. Is there any other comments or questions?
And that's just in regards to the social studies position. The
Yes,
Key Club sponsor
Key Club sponsor would be replaced. Right.
But we're looking at whether or not we can reduce our deficit, even that we have this year, a little bit by absorbing that position. So that's one of the charges that we've taken seriously.
Will you be making a decision for the spring, or is this something that you know you're going to get through the spring and then make a decision?
For the spring.
Okay.
We're actually looking at it, whether or not it can be absorbed this spring.
And you haven't decided that yet?
We're currently working on it, yep.
So something may come back one way or the other in January if we decide we can't get along without it.
Right.
Okay. So if there's no more discussion on that, then need a motion then to approve 7.3 on the personnel items as presented tonight.
I move.
Thank you. In a second. John, can I take your second? Okay, thank you. Call the roll, please.
Yes. Carter? Yes. Kopp?
Yes.
Quetter?
Yes.
Petermeyer?
Yes.
Nusis?
Yes. And 7.4 is a job description change for our in-house detention supervisor. And Mr. Quetter, or Dr. Quetter, have you?
Yeah, this is on my, Carrie knows my,
Right.
The question was, I just wanted to make sure kids are in, whether they're in study hall or in school detention, we want to make sure they're getting academic support, and I wanted to make it clear, or at least my initial query is to make sure that we're not removing academic support from even a child in an in-house detention situation.
Yeah, and the in-house person would not provide the instruction, is what the change in the job description is.
Or hasn't been.
Hasn't been. And this is just an older job description, and, just was one that we needed to update. So when you don't have a certified person in that position, you can't offer instruction, and they are not currently offering instruction.
The reason this first got into my mind, you might want to strike that out of the job goal sentence statement at the top of that. You're striking out the same line, the same wording as on the second bullet point.
Under the job goal.
Strike out that same wording and provide academic instruction and remediation from the job goal line as well.
Yep, we'll do that.
And there was nothing in the, just looking again at evaluation, there was nothing in evaluation that would, nothing in the evaluation part of it either that would, that they be evaluated on instruction or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
No.
But again, these kids are still getting support for instruction and encouraged to be doing their homework.
Right,
not just
absolutely,
sitting there.
absolutely.
That was the
Yep,
most
more
important.
guidance and redirection, and, they just don't offer the instruction the teacher would. And if they have any special education services, then we would allow that certified person to go in, or ask that certified person to go in and offer that service if needed.
Okay.
All right, then I would move, provided we kind of strike out that same wording, provide
amended,
academic
yep.
instruction and remediation from the job goal as well as the performance responsibility, then I would move that we accept that.
Okay. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. And call the roll, please.
Carter? Yes. Cop?
Yes.
Clutter?
Yes?
Petermeyer?
Yes.
And Newsis.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Next, under old business, we have architect presentation of conceptual design. And Mr. Murphy.
Tonight we're here to make a recommendation to accept the concept drawings as presented tonight, to allow the architects to further refine the drawings and budgets as a part of the schematic design for phase 1 construction. I've asked Mike Zeller to attend the meeting tonight to talk through some of the more complex construction. And I'll be talking through a lot more Morris's piece. I've asked Mike to present first, and then I'll follow Mike.
Thank you.
It's going slowly. There we go.
Okay. You board members, you should have 3 separate pieces of paper or a couple of packages. We'll take these in order. The first one, the drawings that you have, there's 5 or 6 drawings stapled together. These are all going to show up on the slides here. We'll go through them one at a time. As David said, this is all phase 1 for your recently passed bond referendum. We have a summary sheet that's going to tell you how much money phase 1 is going to cost, and then we're going to jump into a couple of floor plans. Phase 1 has 3 building additions that are going to happen, one at Ball School, one at the intermediate school, and one at your new elementary school. I'm going to show you 2 of them tonight, Ball and the intermediate school. So with that, we'll get going here. This first slide we have here is of the intermediate school, obviously.
Elementary.
I'm sorry, the Chatham Elementary School. The total cost of phase 1 estimated is $400,000. The items of work, the courtyard area, drainage issue that's been a problem for some time, the playground compliance, which deals with surfacing as well as equipment replacement in some instances, and playground drainage for some of them that are having some issues. This project is estimated at about $400,000. It includes fees and contingencies. This next project, Ball Elementary School, phase 1, we are going to try our best to try to complete all of the work that's required at Ball Elementary School this summer, which is going to include about a 5,200 square foot addition to replace the 1926 building, and several long laundry list of additional projects that's going to happen there. The addition number 1, painting throughout the building. A lot of this work the school district is going to take upon themselves to do whatever they can, especially some of the larger or smaller items. Asphalt, remediation, repair work throughout this entire area, whether it's going to be removed and replaced or recoated. Some of the areas that are still in good shape will be simply resealed and restriped. There's a good portion of it that is cracked up that needs to be replaced. It'll all be evaluated, even this lot over here, this back lot, the road going out, and of course this long drive road through this area. HVAC renovations, pretty much this entire north end of the building is going to have new heating and ventilation system, new state-of-the-art type system. Roof replacement. In this case, on this building, we're probably going to do what we call a roof recover. It's about half the price of a total roof replacement. We've already had this building infrared scanned about 4 years ago. It was done. We found out at that time we had 6 or 8 leaks. This time we've got actually fewer leaks, but the areas have gotten larger. That means the district has taken, has repaired some of the areas, but the ones they haven't been able to fix have gotten worse. We do have to remove those areas, but we can do recover roof instead of a replacement, which will save the district a lot of years, and you'll still get 15 years worth of warranty out of it. So that's the plan here on this project. The tuck pointing around the entire building, with the exception of the building that's going to be demolished. Window replacement pretty much on the 1969 or 1970 edition, and possibly along here, this is the 1932 gymnasium that was added onto the building. This area well, it's actually right here, I guess. We will evaluate that. Very possible that we need to replace those windows.
That's a courtyard there, isn't it, Dave?
Yeah, there's a courtyard right there. That's a courtyard, so those are outside windows. So the windows that we would replace are all the way along here and all the way along here. Those are the oldest windows in the building. This is, once we replace this building, this will be, the 1970 will be the oldest piece of that building left. Actually, when this 1926 building was built, this was the gymnasium part of it. It was built at the same time in 1926. It's still in good shape because the roof goes up higher on that, and there was very little exterior wall exposure on that building for the past several years. So we don't need to replace that. Extension cord, these are some smaller items that the district will take care of. Repair dangling cords, flammable cabinets, door replacements, a timeout room. There's going to be a new timeout room in this addition, as well as down in this area that will be created. Some asbestos abatement, not only associated with this, but other areas of the building that needs it. Restroom, there's about 10 restrooms in this building. These orange spaces around, when I say restrooms, a boys' restroom is 1 restroom, so boys and girls is 2, so there's 10 of them throughout the building that'll get that. The last item on here is carpet replacement. We know that when we replace the heating and ventilating system in this building is going to get pretty messy. The ceilings come down. It's a pretty active construction area. We know that over the past couple of summers that you've done this similar type work at other schools, you come right down to the wire. We will include this carpet and flooring replacement if we think it's desirable at the time. We don't want to do anything that's going to hurt the carpet or anything that work over any carpet just to get a project done. So we've said that this portion of the work could end up in a later phase of the work. We'll try to get it done if at all possible. Any questions? I think the total estimated cost on this one is Ball Elementary is $6.542. The intermediate school, this building gets an addition. There's about a little over 10,000 square foot addition placed in the front of the building. Of course, the entrance is right here. The new entrance will be here, which forces, for security purposes, forces any visitor to come into the administrative area before accessing the rest of the school, which is most desirable. Masonry restoration around the entire perimeter of this building. Playground compliance, this small playground over here, same thing, this new permeable surface like you have at your new elementary school. I think the equipment in this case is all in good shape, but you do get the new surface and get rid of the mulch. field house, heat detectors, whether that happens in phase 1 or phase 2. It's something that the district was written up on because of missing some heat detectors in the field house, which is something that we'll get to. Total cost of this building is 3.8, I believe, if I'm reading that right. The middle school, this gets some other work in phase 2, but for phase 1, we need to, it's time to do some maintenance on the middle school track that was completed about 5 years ago. You bought a polyurethane track at the time without a structural spray mat coating. Now it's time to add that. It was designed in, to happen that way. The high school, it's got the same kind, it's got the best track surface you can get, same as this one, only it got the spray mat surface because of budgeting from the get-go. It is in need of it as well, so we would bid this track, 6-lane track, as well as the 8-lane high school track. It's a recoating operation. It's good for 5 years, so in another 5 years it will be time to re-maintain it, but you keep doing that on this surface. Some of the other type surfaces, latex tracks, at some point you need to peel them off and start over. But you bought the better grade track when you did this. It's just now time to do some maintenance work on it. That's estimated to be $72,000. This is the high school, the other track at the high school. These are going to be, we've already got these drawings ready, and they'll be going out in early January. We're trying to be smart about this bidding cycle to get on all of these contractors' lists early in the season, so that you get your best pricing that way too, the earlier this work gets out. The last two projects, the building we're in right here, district office right now, is in need of some paint that the district will probably handle, but the perimeter of this building, some of it in worse condition than others. The north end of this building needs to be tuck pointed. The south end is kind of a spot tuck point project. At the bus transportation at the intermediate school area, there's re-roofing that needs to take place on this little storage building. I think, Dave, you've got some trees that need some attention in that area. This summary sheet is, I think the last one was $74,000 for the bus garage, I forgot to mention. This shows that through phase 1, which is this summer, through the following school year, a lot of this work will be done during this summertime, but we know that the additions at Ball and the intermediate school cannot physically be completed over the course of the summer, so they will carry on during the school year. We will make provisions to, keep construction separated from the student traffic and so on and so forth. But, and we don't know exactly where the summer of 2014 is going to split. Ideally, 2014 projects for summer start in June next year. There may be a little bit of an overlap. Bottom line is, of your $35 million bond referendum, you're spending $16 million of it, ideally. Now these numbers include fees and contingencies, and we're carrying a 10% contingency on all that work, so 10% of $35 million, there's quite a little bit of cushion there. So now I want to go into just a little bit more detail. This is Ball School's addition. It totals about 5,300 square feet. The outline of the 1926 building comes through here just like that right now. It kind of lines up with that building. So it's going to stick out just a little bit more, but instead of being 2 stories, kind of a half in the ground and half out of the ground, it's going to be a 1-story building of about 5,300 square feet. There's a little bit of additional remodeling that we want to do in here. Right now there's kind of a smaller storage area right now. We want to improve this area for one reason. We need to find a place to move the mechanical room that we're going to lose when we tear this building down. It's got a hot water heater and some other equipment. We won't need the boiler anymore because of the new system, but we're just planning ahead. You know, we got to have a floor space to set this equipment to be able to keep this rest of the school in operation next year. This will all be cordoned off. Students will have access down through here to what I call the east wing and to the rest of the school. As far as what this would look like, right now, there's a sloping metal roof at the entrance to in the gymnasium area. It comes all the way along here. There's a section of it right in here that's actually rusted through that needs to be replaced. There's some other improvements that need to go on here, but the roof slopes from a 2-foot overhang up the wall here. That's partly the reason why this building is still in good shape. It's been covered up for the past 25 years. We want to use a sloping metal roof so that if you can envision, this is kind of a hip condition. It'll slope up to kind of a flat area up here that we'll use to set some mechanical equipment on for this addition. But it'll blend in with the sloping metal roof that you see on the rest of it. That's the plan right now.
I have a question about that. The facade at the south end of the building, the old part of the building, will come down. But is all the brickwork and the archway that says high school on it, is there any plan? I would like there to be a plan to recover some of those bricks in that facade area to
it's possible.
Been around for a very long time.
It's possible. We get that question asked a lot on buildings like this, and a lot of times it just depends on, that building is not in very good condition.
No, it's not.
It just depends on how well it comes apart. I've seen them come apart pretty much intact, where you've got some of the stonework and some of the words in the writing. Comes off very well, you know, and then what are you going to do with it, though? You know, there's no plan to reincorporate it. You have to find, you know, your own use for it. A lot of times what happens, you know, people get into the sell the brick, you know, kind of an option. So I don't know, you know, you never know really what the old building, you know, until I know that there's a lot of moisture problems in those old walls. There's a lot of windows with steel lintels that are rusted terribly, I mean, almost unsafe, in safe condition, so.
Yeah, the other thing I'd like to add is this is the 1926 building, and the unknowns are how the amount of asbestos is embedded in this building.
Which would prevent you from saving some of the brick?
If we drop the building, it depends on where the asbestos is embedded, and that's part of the investigation we do up front. But if it's embedded into the masonry components, we wouldn't be able to salvage anything. Perhaps the limestone.
This is actually a lot of people probably don't realize the old building, it's got masonry exterior walls, but all the floors in it are all wood. It's a wood framed building. We found the old drawings to that, you know, building when it was done in 1926. So it's a good question. You know,
there's a cornerstone there too, isn't there? That
yeah, it probably is. There may be a time capsule, you know. That a lot of times behind that cornerstone there's a time capsule. But
won't know till we.
Yeah, we won't really know. It's not that big of a building, you know. There's only, you know, 3,300 square feet on a floor. There's 2 floors of it. The lower level is like 5.5 feet in the ground, and it's like 12 feet from lower level to the upper level, but they are wood framed, so it's going to come down pretty quickly. It's not, you know, reinforced concrete or a steel frame that's, you know, it's going to be more difficult to remove.
So you gotta be fast.
Don't blink.
I'll be out of town when that comes down. I do not want to see that come down.
That was Linda's school for how many years?
Yeah, I was there 14 years.
14 years.
You know, I tell a story. We had a similar project, about the same vintage building east of here, and when you know, I know the district really wrestled with whether or not they should, you know, remove it. It was a nice old, you know, actually 3-story building, but
it had like 4 classrooms on a floor. It just wasn't efficient and needed an elevator and everything. So they finally decided to tear it down. And when they did, when the excavator got out there and started pulling it down, it just crumbled. It was just, the masonry was just rotten. And I never would have guessed it. I thought the building was in a lot better shape than that.
That is the case in this building.
Yeah,
The east side of this building is just, you can poke your finger through the masonry.
feel the draft coming through it, yeah.
So this, I think at Chatham Elementary, the library edition, the building that you had years ago, the fire at, that'll be probably the oldest, but with the exception of, this area right here, that'll still be 1920.
The gym was what, 32, you said?
Well, this gym here, this is still the 1920s, this is still the 1926.
Okay.
But this was 1932
Okay.
when they built that.
That's the new gym over there then,
That's the new gym at the ball school.
Dave, there is a scary storeroom underneath the steps in that old part of the building.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, I'd like somebody to go in there and make sure that there's nothing of value in there, sentimental value. The pictures that are on display at Ball.
I've been through that.
Yeah, came, I think, from
under
that
there?
area.
Huh.
Yeah.
I found some of the blueprints that Mike was looking at
Yeah.
in that area.
Did you?
In the old school?
And lived to tell about it, huh?
You're not volunteering to go?
No, I'm not volunteering. So you've looked at it, good.
Any more questions on this school? This one is a little bit more of a sketchy. This is the intermediate school. We don't have this on our computer yet, but the entrance to the intermediate school is right here with a walk that comes out. This is the parking lot right out here. This is the 1992 addition that was put onto that intermediate school. This is the band room and the music room along here. This is the commons, cafeteria commons, so it gives you a little bit of an orientation. You come into school right here, right now, and the administrative office is right here. This is about a 10,400 square foot planned addition to this building with a canopy that'll get you out to the sidewalk area for drop off. This project is envisioned to, this is the administrative area, which, as I mentioned before, any visitors to the school has to come in. These doors will be locked when school starts, so any visitor has to come in past the front office area before they can have access to the rest of the school. That, that replaces the administrative area up here that in phase 2 will become classroom space. There's a large kind of what we're calling is the commons, which is going to be actually overflow because of the, I think there's 11 or 12 different classrooms that we're planning to add to this building by taking over underutilized space, the IA shop, the end of the gymnasium, the administrative area, the old food area. I think and plus this classroom here, I think we've come up with about 11 classrooms. At 24, students per classroom, there's, 250 students or so that we have to accommodate. So the kitchen area in here gets redone. This is all phase 2 work, but this is going to be phase 1. We have to think
phase
a
2
little.
would be the next year?
Pardon me?
Phase 2 would be the next year?
Phase 2 would be next year. Trying not to, physically get all the work done is going to be difficult, but try not to spend all your money all at once too. So we have to think a little bit. Obviously your front door. You've got other doors on the other side over here where we have to think a little bit about how we're going to still maintain visitor and student access into the building, which we can pull off. The nice thing about this building is a lot of classrooms have exterior doors, so there's a lot of ways to gain access into there. But one of the thoughts that the administration and staff had was, sure would be nice to have some sort of a connection over to, this goes down over to that 92 edition over here, this area. It's kind of alongside the locker room. Locker rooms are up in here. Of course, the field house is up in here. So this connection is built, to accommodate that. Front door, back door, out of the administrative area. The size of this roughly is the size of the administration area currently. few little extra spaces, you know, with some extra offices that are necessary. A timeout room over here with a couple of other offices. The idea is, you know, try to get some extra height in here. I realize, you know, there's a sunken floor in the commons right now that we want to level out. There's only about a 9-foot ceiling in there. That's part of the reason why they sunk that floor. It's only about a 1 foot, 13-inch dip, but that helps the space feel a little bit larger. We're going to elevate this portion of the building just to give you a little bit better sense as you come in here, you know, to make more of an entrance out of it. That's it. That's for this summer, and that may be pretty much the work that's accomplished, you know, this summer, and it's probably going to go on, it will go on through next school year, maybe as long as, you know, March or April or something like that. And at that point, you're going to make a decision whether to vacate this and move into it early, or, you know, wait till school's out and some of that stuff will resolve itself. But there's some advantages both ways. The building, in this case, will be, you know, what most people refer to as flat roofs. They're not flat. They have, you know, at least a 1/4 inch per foot slope to roof drains. This building is somewhat of a challenge because this entire building slopes to perimeter gutters. And here we're building an addition right next to it. And so that water's got to go somewhere. So what we're gonna accommodate that with back sloping some roof along here and with some roof drains, and we will interior roof drain our area. Our new addition's probably going to come in just a little bit higher than this. You never want to try to match roof elevations. You either want to be higher or lower. And because we're dealing with about a 12-foot wall height, we don't have the opportunity to come in lower. So we're dealing with that right now. But appearance-wise, it's going to be, the brick will look the same. There'll be some vertical metal siding that this building has running around the entire perimeter, which will, you know, pretty much, we're going to try to blend them in both, as, you know, to make it not look like an appendage onto the building. Any questions? That's where we are right now. We jumped into this thing. We're trying to organize, you know, construction manager is going to be involved in a lot of these projects that I know you guys are going to talk about later, but we're trying to organize them so that they can be efficiently undertaken and bid at the appropriate time. This March, April, May is going to be a real heavy bid cycle, you know, when all these projects are going to go out for bid. Now, there again, we're only seeking approval for phase 1 right now.
Questions? No? Comments? I guess not. Okay, thank you.
Bye.
And 8.2, Dave. I assume that you're on 8.2 now, construction management?
Actually, I need to talk about GES.
Oh, okay. Yes, okay.
It's a much smaller project, but I did want to touch on it a little bit. Their basis of design for GES, and again, it's just a look-alike of the rest of the building, other than at the end of the construction there will be restrooms at both ends of these two wings, along with a restroom on the back end here for teachers. I've got to blow up with that. Let me bring that up. The K1 wing. There'll be 6 classrooms, bathrooms for the kids. In the proposal will look like a teacher room with a couple bathrooms on the end there. One last drawing. Let me back up just one slide. On the previous slide, we did show bathrooms on the end. We took them out to meet budget, and currently this drawing does meet budget. Talk about budget here real quick.
You're talking they took out the one in the pre-K?
Yeah, they got the teacher's bathroom in pre-K.
Okay. Because all the classrooms have restrooms, right?
Is that still?
Children still have their
Yes.
bathrooms.
A separate entrance on the end of that for pre-K? Is that still in the plan?
I understand it.
Our budget here was
I don't think you heard.
5 million, we're just over that. That includes 8% contingency. We think we're going to bring this project in. We will bring the project in at budget.
Dave, Dr. Quetter asked about entrance for pre-K and the drive-through for pre-K. They'll still have their playground.
Plan on that.
A 2,200 square feet playground that is incorporated in this plan.
But we will not have a drive going up to
There's not
that.
enough in the budget to get a drive around back there.
They'll enter the
We will
building the same
expand
way.
the parking facility, doubles the size of the current parking facility.
That'll go north like we had originally planned for it, or will it go out to the?
It'll go east.
To the east.
Yeah,
Okay.
just expanding what we have. Our recommendation, once again tonight, is to go forward with the concept drawing so we can get into schematic drawing and work on our budgets around the schematic drawings.
Okay. Any questions, comments? I do have one comment. I know Tammy was involved in the construction management interviews, and thank you very much for helping out with that. But there was some concern that Tammy had about emergency exits during construction, because their emergency exits at all those wings are out the end of the wings, and there's others coming out there, but if you want to make sure you've got 2 exits for everybody, or 2 potential ones. So something we're going to have to.
We're going to be working through our safety department and with the architect.
Okay.
Come up with a plan for that.
Okay. Because it's I think more important for the younger kids in the elementary school. I mean, you can instruct the older kids a little bit better than you can the younger kids in getting them out. So just want to make sure that we take a close look at that. So. Anything else? No? Okay. Any other questions? I need then a motion to approve the recommendations and accept the conceptual drawings as presented tonight for Phase 1 construction. Thank you, John. And a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Greg. And call the roll, please.
Carter? Yes. Cop?
Yes.
Quetter?
Yes.
Petermeyer?
Yes.
Reeses?
Yes. Okay. Thank you. And
Thank you,
I'm on
Mike.
for the next one, okay.
yeah, next we have is our construction management recommendation.
Our interview committee did meet, and tonight we've got a recommendation. The recommendation is to enter into contract negotiations with Harold O'Shea Builders and complete those negotiations prior to January's board meeting. And for presentation recommendation to the board during that meeting. We did have three very good firms represented. The committee's decision was to go with Harold O'Shea. And we're asking tonight you accept that recommendation. Any questions?
Anything? Steve, you got any comments on the
All
interviews?
good companies.
Yeah, just,
And local.
yes.
Is this is not something that gets bid or something like that? This is just
Well, this will be attempt to enter into a negotiation, a contract with them that.
but it's a negotiated contract.
It's a negotiated contract, and if it's based on some parameters that Dave has, you want to explain some of those, or you want to go into?
We have to agree to what the maximum price is going to be for the project. We have to agree to what the percentage of their fees are going to look like. Any reimbursables we have to agree to. And for them to agree to enter into the contract, they have to understand the scope of the work. At this point in time, all we've done is identify a vendor or a contractor who we think is qualified to do this work. And in this case, it's Harold O'Shea.
So yes, to answer your question, yeah, it's a negotiated contract that, based on parameters that are pretty standard. So, any other questions? I need a motion then to approve the administrative recommendation to enter in contract negotiations with Harold O'Shea Builders as our construction management firm.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you. And a second, please?
I'll second it.
Thank you. And call the roll, please.
Pop,
Yes.
Quetter,
Yes.
Peter Meyer,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Nucis.
Yes. And again, thanks to the committee that set that up, and thanks to Dave for putting everything together for us. It was Tammy, Steve, myself, Carrie, and Patrick were part of that interview team. So, okay, next is instructional numeracy report.
Well, before we start, I want to talk about one-to-one. I wasn't for sure Tracy's going to be here tonight. Just an update on the 5th grade one-to-one initiative with the Chromebooks. We had parent night. Mr. Lund held a parent night. The tech team did a presentation to about 35, 40 parents that attended. They had a lot of great questions. The teachers have been undergoing some professional development. And so we hope to put those devices in those 10 teachers' classrooms in language, arts, social studies, and science. Those are the key curriculum areas that we're looking at. Chad, Kent, and Jim Barham and I and Carrie met with Pearson, and they came forward with some proposals about one-to-one. And they won't recommend a device, but it's more about the curriculum part along with the professional development part. And so they put together, and they're putting together some more information. But right now we don't have funding sources. We can't repurpose funds when we haven't been buying textbooks. It's hard to repurpose funds when we haven't been doing it. Our concern is those funding sources to keep the one-to-one. And we're eventually going to need to have some money to do some curriculum things, but right now we're on hold until we work through Common Core. But I just want to share with you that I have some concerns because there's just not a lot of funds out there. But eventually we're going to have to make some of those decisions here. So I just wanted to give you a brief update on that. I'm going to introduce Tracy Kimball, our numeracy coach. When we hired Tracy, Carrie and I sat down and told her that she had 2 initiatives, 2 things that were her main targets for the year. One was building relationships in our schools, and she's done a phenomenal job doing, and it's K-12, so she's in all 6 schools, and the second one was doing a paper audit. So she's going to talk to you about that. She has surpassed our expectations tenfold, so I'm happy to have her, so I'm going to turn it over to her now.
Hey, it's Aaron here. It's under your PowerPoint at the very bottom. Yeah, there it is. Good evening. So the first thing that I need to tell you is I have a sinus infection, so if I start coughing, I'm not going to die. According to my husband, I'm a lot better than I was a couple days ago. So. The first thing I want to do is I want to thank you for the opportunity to take this position. And I want to thank the district office, Mrs. Larson and Ms. Van Alstyne, for this chance. But more importantly, I want to thank the teachers. Being a middle school teacher, I come from a very unique environment. and to be thrown into a K4 building was not only interesting, but it was refreshing. We had the power go out within the first week, and being an 8th grade teacher, it was difficult for me to have 2 kindergartners on my lap while I rubbed another one's back. So it was refreshing, it was eye-opening, and they do a phenomenal job. Mrs. Larson's asked me to speak this evening just to give you an update of what I've been doing. So I have some key points here that I want to talk about. The majority of my day, the primary portion of my day is spent on Common Core. However, I do have several other little projects going on along the way. We're working on the 4th grade math enrichment, 6th through 8th grade critical math class. I'm heavily involved with Dr. Cox with that and Mr. Lund. I have done teacher observations, giving a pre and a post observation to give them some insight as to what they see, what they're doing in the classroom. I've had the opportunity to co-teach a 2nd grade and a 4th grade classroom. And I'm currently working on the development and implementation of a pilot K5 component that we'd be adding into our mathematics curriculum. So like I said, the primary portion of my day is spent around Common Core, and that's where the paper audit comes in. So I want to back up all the way to where this began. In May of last year, Mrs. Larson formed a team of teachers, and this was prior to me taking this position. And the team consisted of Steve Grimbush, was our elementary teacher, Tina Schrock was our GIS teacher, I was the middle school teacher, and Stephanie Hagan was the high school teacher. And we had an opportunity to attend a state training where it's train the trainer, and they could teach us everything we'd ever want to know about Common Core. And then Mrs. Larson decided she didn't want to go, so she had her gallbladder taken out. Since that time, on August 6th, the group of us came together and we decided to have an August 6th training to begin a train the trainer and a grassroots effort to solidify, understand, and implement Common Core here at Ball Chatham. So what we did was we recruited 40 teachers, and the way they're broken up is grades 2 through 12. We had 3 2nd grade, 3 3rd grade, 3 4th, 3 5th. I had all 6th grade math teachers, which is 4, all the middle school and all the high school. So the first question you might have is, why did you do 2 through 12? We knew that there was a phonology initiative that was going on in kindergarten and 1st grade, and we wanted to roll this out in phases as well. He's doing all this talk about phases. I'm like, yeah, we're in phase 1 also. So this is phase 1 for our initiative as well. From September to December, with these 40 math leaders, what I've done is I've sat with them hand in hand, arm in arm, and we've aligned the curriculum for 2nd grade through 9th grade. Even though I have 9 through 12 math teachers, I was lucky enough to have almost all of the math department at the high school join in this leadership program. We decided to roll this out in phases, as in we're only focusing Common Core on Algebra 1. The reasoning behind that was the Common Core test, which will be given by Park, is in 14-15. So that's our current freshmen when they're juniors. So if we roll this out with them, and then next year pull in geometry, and then the following year pull in Algebra 2, we feel like they'll have a solid foundation for this test, as opposed to just rolling it out across the board. So during that time, we did the alignment of the curriculum, and I have some samples for you here in just a minute. November and December, I've been providing full staff development, and that particular development was on practice standards, which I'm going to show you here as well. So the criteria for our standards are there's fewer, clearer, higher. They're aligned with college and work expectations. Of course, rigor is the word of the day, and they say that it builds on our strengths in the lessons of our current state standards, but more importantly, it's internationally benchmarked so that all students are prepared to succeed. This is not a federal initiative, it is state-led, and I know that Mrs. Larson gave you an update or overview of Common Core. But currently every state has their own standards. So we have a student move from Iowa, moves to Illinois, totally different set of standards. Move from Missouri to Indiana, totally different set of standards. This is really going to be helpful for our transient students that move not only from state to state, but from district to district. Because while within our district we have standards, the math standards, if you ever read through them, they're very vague and they're very broad. And every district can interpret them as they see fit. But not only do we want to deal with state to state, we want to make sure that our students are prepared to compete internationally. And so when the Common Core standards were developed, they were developed based on the countries that had the highest scores, which include Singapore and Hong Kong. So the first thing that we need to do is develop a plan, because I'm very much a work backwards kind of person, and if I can't see what the end's supposed to look like, then I have a little problem. So that's the first thing we did, is we came up and we built a blueprint for what's going to be successful here at Ball Chatham. We're currently in phase 1, the transition strategy. Of course, the leadership support has been there 100% from district office and the administration within the buildings as well. They're fully supporting these math teachers and giving them all the time, which is really what we've asked for. We don't ask for money, we ask for time, and that seems to be a precious commodity with our teachers. And we've been given that. I'm working in the green phase, which is giving them content knowledge, understanding of how students learn. We're going to be discussing formative assessment and effective instructional strategies. Of course, as the coach, I'd like it all to funnel into the one position so that you have one person that has a bird's eye view of the entire system. And then in the future, we're hopeful that we will have some online support with this as well. And we have a plan for that. So I just wanted to show you for mathematics, the problem for mathematics has always been, and I can speak to this directly, it is a mile wide and it's an inch deep. And we do it so well here at Ball Chatham. I mean, it's indicative of the scores. And it's no fault of our own. It's been set to us by the Illinois State Board of Education. They give you so many standards that you have to meet by March 15th, because you know those kids are going to be tested on that. And that creates silos, and it creates islands of excellence. And it also creates students memorizing procedures without understanding what they're doing, which is why what we find is we have to continuously teach the same thing over and over and over again, because they don't understand where it came from. They just can't remember the rules, because if you don't understand where it came from, the rules will lead. And so that is what they refer to as naked math, where we have no context, no meaning, no conceptual understanding. Hopefully with Common Core we have focus, coherence, procedural fluency, which is the skill and drill. That's what procedural fluency is. But with the deep conceptual understanding, they'll know where it comes from, as well as applications, balance, and a balanced emphasis. So the first thing we did was we looked at the progressions across the grades, and I sat down with these 40 math teachers, and we talked about how do things flow, how do they ebb and flow in between all of them. And we went from these broad ideas, this broad thinking, and we went into these much more in-depth thoughts of what is our current goals in Illinois, and what does that look like on Common Core, and where is it taught. After we go through this ebb and flow and looking at these broad things, then I had all of our teachers sit down and say, okay, now's our time to be honest. Let's write down everything we do from beginning to end, a curriculum map. Show me what you do. Give me a pacing guide. How many days do you spend on this? And there's no right or wrong answer, because we're changing some of our standards. So I said, tell me what we're doing from front to back. And from that document, we were able to create some systemic documents. The first one that I created was, can't see it very well, it's very pretty though, is a K-12 document. This one is our K-8. And this is great if you want to know what the kids learn before you and where they're going after you. But this isn't really a teacher-friendly document. This isn't something that I can take in my classroom and go, look, I do this right here, because each one of them has a substandard. So I had the teachers all write down a pacing guide, exactly what they do in their grade level. And I had 3 teachers per grade level, all middle school, all high school, doing this. And then we lined each one of those up with the Common Core standard, and we identified our gaps and our overlaps. There's several places where we have gaps, and there's several places where we're overlapping. And we had a lot of aha moments, you know, things that we weren't aware of. 6th grade teachers weren't aware that 5th grade teachers were or were not teaching this. That's why they're coming in with struggling with this. So it was really eye-opening for me, having tunnel vision of 8th grade math for so long, but I think it was eye-opening for all of them. And after we created the pacing guide, we took each one of these and I plugged them in, and I said, here are our standards, and let's find out when we teach the standards. Now we can see if we're over-teaching, under-teaching, which ones do we need to do. According to PARC, they have a model content framework. They identify for us exactly what we should be teaching 70 to 75% of the time. And I identified those with a key for the teachers. So they know how to read this document, and I'm zipping through it with you guys. But they know how to read this document, that the green squares indicate major clusters or major content areas. And we should be spending 70 to 75% of our time. And you can see right here on this document, the second line, it's only taught in 2 lessons. So we now know that that's a gap, and we need to figure out how to fix that gap, how to fill that gap. And that's where we're at right now, is after we've identified our gaps, then my leaders are going to come back in, and we're going to identify where we need to deal with the gaps and the overlaps. So there's 2 major areas that I feel like are the biggest changes, and that's 6th grade, because 6th grade is dealing with the squeeze down from 7th and the push up from 5th. For example, 6th grade is only supposed to teach division of fractions. Okay. But you can't teach division of fractions if they don't know how to multiply fractions. And don't we think fractions are important? So shouldn't we teach all of them? Okay, so we have to deal with that kind of thing, because Common Core doesn't determine our curriculum. It's kind of like our baseline. And Ball Chatham's always had an expectation that was above baseline. And so we need to determine what's going to go in our curriculum and what we have time to teach. With that being said, we don't want to go, again, a mile wide and an inch deep. We want to utilize the fact that students will have a conceptual understanding and we can move them forward with that. The reality is that no set of standards has much meaning without resources to ensure the teachers are trained well enough to reach the kids who live in widely different circumstances. Nothing's a silver bullet. I mean, we're not going to be able to say Common Core is in place now, everyone's going to learn. It's really about the teachers. So after we came up with the gaps and overlaps is when I began the professional development on the teachers. Because if it's the same old box and we just swap out and we do the same stuff with a new box, same system, same procedures, we use the same instructional material formats, we use the same assessment tools, then nothing's going to change, even if they just change the standards. So in November and December, I provided teachers in grades 2 through 12 the practice standards. So content standards are what we teach, and practice standards are how students learn. Now practice standards in mathematics are K-8, they're overarching. They meet everyone. And what it is it's things that we're trying to develop within the students. The standards for mathematical practice are expertise that we're trying to develop in our students. And when you see them, you're like, absolutely, I can see that in mathematics. So the 8 practice standards that we're dealing with are perseverance, because they want to quit so quickly, I don't understand, come here and help me. Reason abstractly and quantitatively, we want to push them into algebra. Construct viable arguments and critique the reasoning of others, tell me why you did it. Modeling with mathematics using tables, diagrams, and number sentences. Using appropriate tools strategically. I love that one because people go, I have calculators, so we do that. No, it's using it strategically, knowing when to use a calculator and when not to use one. Attend to precision, which not only indicates getting the correct answer, but using the correct vocabulary. So that pulls in our literacy component. Look for and make use of structure and regular repeated reasoning. So I sat down with grades 2 through 12 and we did an hour-long presentation on these 8 standards and what each one of them means, and provided them with questions to show them exactly how those questions could be worded to meet those standards. We also talked about what it doesn't mean, and really focused on the fact that Common Core is not a silver bullet. It's not just the same thing. We don't just check it off. It's a braid. Because what we're trying to do is trying to get kids to do math. And when kids are doing math, there's 3 components to it. It's how they do the math, which is your fluency. It's where do they do the math, that's your problem solving, and it's why do they do the math, that's the conceptual understanding. If we can get all 3 of those things braided nicely with a pretty little bow on the end, then it really is going to work. So in November and December, this is what I provided to the teachers, was a training on this. Now, after the training and their brains are fried, the key thing was, I said, I know that they were doing this in their classroom. The cool thing is now, as math teachers, a lot of times administration will walk in and they'll hear us asking questions that it feels very off the cuff. Feels very, off the cuff, where I'm totally just jiving with the kids, and it's not really. It's really strategic and it's really planned. And what I did was I provided them with a couple sets of documents. The first one being, if you hear these questions, this is the practice standard that they're answering. And this is a PowerPoint, so I don't think I can get to the slide that's behind it. But the second thing was a checklist I provided to the administration that said, when you're in a classroom, if you observe these students doing these things, then they're meeting these practice standards. And I provided this to the teachers and to the administration so that they'd be able to identify and link things up to Common Core practice standards. So, what is Common Core for the future for us? So far all we've done is identified our gaps, and I've talked about practice standards. I have 2 professional developments planned for the spring. The first one's questioning techniques, because that's really what Common Core is. And then the second one is instructional strategies, different ways that you can organize your classroom to help meet Common Core goals. Then I'm going to take those math leaders that we've nurtured for so long, and we're going to build Common Core units, and we're going to give them to the teachers, and we're going to allow the teachers to try them. And the teachers are then going to survey it and tell us everything, every nut and bolt of it, what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad, what's the ugly. Then after that, it's a gradual release. Then the teachers are going to build it, and then they're going to survey for each other. And the plan is, hopefully, by 14-15, we will be full implementation of Common Core, front to back, but not with fidelity, because we will just have our first year, because that's the year they test. And then in 15, the summer of 15 is when they make the determinations, which is when they're going to make the cut scores, just like our meets exceeds below. They have, I believe, 5. And they're going to make those cut scores that summer. And then that's going to help us determine what we're doing well and what we're not doing so well. And then 15-16 is when we can do it with full fidelity after we do that. So this is what I spend the majority of my time on. And I'm just going to give you the other little side projects we've got going on, and then I will definitely take questions. We do have 4th grade math enrichment. I think that this is a wonderful program. I have had the opportunity to work with the administration and all the regular 4th grade teachers and the ones that are teaching the 4th grade math enrichment. We designed and implemented a matrix to identify students in each elementary building that would qualify for the 4th grade enrichment. And the way that we organized this was the top 25% of each building. Now what that means is in the past, when 4th grade was at GIS, approximately 30 students out of 330 were receiving math enrichment. And next quarter we'll have 81 students out of the 330 receiving math enrichment in 4th grade. So we've opened the door up because we have an opportunity to have more teachers do this. And it's only through the flexibility of the teachers and their willingness to work so many hours. It has been a wonderful experience. I've been working closely with them because my concern from the forefront was, if we have a math enrichment, what does an enrichment look like? Because I think enrichment is one of those vocabulary words that can mean so many different things to so many different people. And so we have been looking at the 4th and the 5th grade curriculum to see how much acceleration would be taking place, as well as enrichment within the classroom. Also, I've had the opportunity to work with Dr. Cox with the critical math class at the middle school. I would love to take credit for designing the matrix, but I will take credit for stealing the matrix from her. And as soon as she designed it, I went in there with every question I could possibly have. And I love matrices until about last week, and then my love for matrices started to wane because there were so many that we were running. But we did take this matrix that was identifying students that would qualify for 7th and 8th grade CMC, and I mirrored that in 6th grade to GIS. And I'm happy to say that we're implementing this matrix at GIS for next semester, for next quarter, that would identify students that would benefit from an intervention at the 6th grade level as well. So, other things that I've had an opportunity to do, I've had the opportunity to meet with grade levels in each building, observe teachers, co-plan and co-teach with teachers. I've experimented with a program in multiple classrooms. I went in totally off the cuff and stole some students for about 20 minutes just to experiment with a program that I think would be beneficial. The program is called Number Talks Through Math Solutions, and it's strictly about mental math and conceptual understanding. And I absolutely adore it. We'll be piloting that next semester with 1K through 5 teacher K, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and just to see if they can give me the ins and outs and the good, the bad, and the ugly, and see if this is something they think would work well in our district. And I've also worked with teachers to, after observing, to give them some instructional strategies that would work well in their content area. At the beginning of the year, she announced that they had 2 goals, and my heart fluttered a little bit, so I couldn't remember them. Because I have so many goals for myself that I absolutely agree that building relationship was the most important goal for me. I told them when I went to the administrative retreat that I had 3 phases, and my first phase was to be a Native American folklore. It's the spirit of the squirrel, which is to build the relationships. So my first thought was we need to make sure everybody knows that we're making the world a better place. It's very easy to say I'm a teacher, so I know I'm making a difference, but does it really make a difference if I tell you that I taught division of fractions or not? So the key was to get everybody to understand that this was worthwhile work. Then I wanted to make sure everybody was working towards the same goal, and I wanted to get a lot of buy-in. That was really about building relationships. But most importantly, I needed to instill in the teachers that were the math leaders as well as the elementary teachers that I'm working with, that my values are the things that guide all of our plans, decisions, and our actions. I believe that goals are set, but values are now. Goals are the things that get people going, but values are the things that sustain the effort. And I'm hopeful that we've started the ball rolling, and that with my enthusiasm and passion for mathematics, that we can continue our efforts forward. And I see the path that's paved in front of us now, and I can see where we're going. And I'm much less stressed about that, because before there was a huge cloud in front of it and I didn't see it. So if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them for you right now.
Wow, all I could say is wow.
Can you tell why we hired her for the
Oh,
position?
yes.
Did I say I love your enthusiasm?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
contagious.
you've given a lot of backbone and continuity to what we're doing in math. And I think our kids are going to like math better and be better at it.
I know, I would have liked math better if it had been through this
Yeah.
kind of stuff too.
Can I ask, pick your brain, that you see how you talked about phase 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to ask you, looking forward to phase 4 and 5. I mean, one of the conundrums I see when you're talking about the old standards or the new standards of Common Core is that we're also trying to focus, and we see this in literacy, on individual student goals and individual kind of oriented curriculum for each student, whether it's remediation or acceleration. And one of the conundrums is you've got these kind of class standards that the kids get tested at, and yet you've got some kids that are ready to move on and some that are not. How do you see that? I know we've got a lot of work to do to get the Common Core curriculum in the next couple of years, but beyond that, with the one-to-one work with the computers, and I see math as being a real kind of classic case where the computers might, in terms of one-to-one instruction and each student working at his own pace. How do you see that fitting in? Especially in the kind of, we've had a curriculum now that has let some kids get into algebra in 7th grade, if you select, and others in 8th grade, and how does that fit in the whole framework? In the five-year plan.
Absolutely. So first thing that I'm glad you pointed that out, because I didn't make that clear, that this focus right now is on our average student, and I'm not, and Common Core does not identify the students that have special needs, and it does not identify our students that are accelerated or enriched as well. But we do have a plan, and I invite you to come to my training on instructional models. But actually, through all the trainings that I've gone to on Common Core, it's very interesting. A lot of Common Core is what's called the inquiry or discovery method. So I place a question out here. Now, if I put you in homogeneous groups, I put my high with my high, my medium, and my low, and I know I'm oversimplifying it. And I present a problem, and then you say, but those kids get the answer. Are you with me? Well, it's through my questioning technique that I can dig deeper and deeper and deeper and make them think more and more. Or I can give them the way I did it, which I know will be totally different than anything they've ever seen, because I'll make sure of it, because it'll be a choice that I make, and make them figure out what it is that I did. Same problem, But think of the higher level thinking skills that they have to get inside my brain. Or I could give them the same problem done wrong, and not only do they need to identify the mistake, but they have to figure out what the overgeneralization that was made that's common amongst the other people that make those overgeneralizations, because I don't make those mistakes because I get these right. Are you with me? So it's all about that higher level thinking of, it's metacognition. It's thinking about what I'm thinking. It's thinking of trying to get in someone else's brain. But within a heterogeneous classroom, I feel like we can meet the needs of all students through differentiation, specifically with the Common Core model, which is discovery and
That's a challenge for the teacher. She's got a number of kids, in the class at different levels of understanding of a particular topic.
I totally agree. And so that leads me to the tracking method that I'll teach the teachers on how to use to determine who is where and what they're doing, and so that they can identify what types of questions to ask. Yeah, but I agree, it's always going to be a problem. It would be a problem with your gifted student that's 4 or 5 grade levels above. We're going to have that one-on-one issue that we deal with case by case. I think that our accelerated program is going to stay in place. I don't see that going anywhere. The students that I've taught have benefited from it. However, I do see some really great things coming up for heterogeneous elementary classrooms where they can really just dig into those students' brains that are really up there. And I'm going to be honest with you, the students, some of our students with special needs, their brain works so wonderful, and if you can get them to share with the class, you can just imagine, all the learning that would take place.
I noticed you had a 4th grade enrichment, but not 5th grade. And the same with the critical math class. It was 6th grade, I believe, but not 5th grade.
There is a 5th grade enrichment class.
Okay.
I would have to have Mr. Lund speak to that.
It's a 5th grade enrichment class. We have our win period where kids get additional enrichment in math. We also have a 5th grade CMC class. We've been working to slowly begin to structure more of that period to model the 7th grade and 6th grade classes as they've kind of guided the process along. So we're running the 5th grade matrix based upon Dr. Cox's model now that we have our math data for 5th grade. So.
And we do have 5th graders in math 615. They're 25, they can get accelerated. That are doing 6th grade, 615 honor.
In one of your charts, it had algebra, and it was high school above it.
That's the basic concept.
That's the concept, the algebra concept. Just like we have geometry, algebra, number sense, measurement, data probability. Algebra is one of your content areas.
Okay.
So I was just saying that everything was leading to algebra.
Okay.
That's the first level that we start with, is the big ideas of how everything leads to algebra. Of course you have your accelerated students that are taking the course, but the idea is conceptually we need to have number sense before we can understand abstractly and quantitatively.
And the idea is to try to get every high school kid at least with some into algebra, with some proficiency by the time they graduate.
And I believe that we have that expectation now.
Yes. Yeah, and at the same time, we're still offering algebra to some in the 8th grade, and then to some 7th grade who truly are ready for it, with the expectation that they stay in math all 4 years in high school.
That has always been my expectation. I believe we sat in a parent-teacher conference where I said that to you, yes. Always a teacher. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I didn't cough.
Very good.
Should be great.
Okay, next we have our financial report.
It's you are on, if you want to minimize that and go to your section right there.
I'm going to start with, there were some questions on a bill that we had to pay earlier in the year for TRS. I just wanted to provide some background and some clarification. When certified staff retire, they retire outside of the city of Chicago, they'll retire through the teacher retirement system. And they have to meet certain eligibility criteria in order to retire. And they can retire with full benefits, to retire with partial benefits, and this really addresses someone who retires early. And that's completely up to the employee, the member, if you will, when they choose to do that. That's between them and TRS. There's nothing the employer has any control over that. If somebody is to leave and retire, still meet the eligibility for what they call early retirement, but it hasn't got the full criterion, full number of years or full age, then there's going to be what they call an ERO penalty. And there's a portion that goes to the employer, there's a portion that goes to the member. And this is just a chart to explain that under 60, so anyone who is under 60 but is above the age of 55, so you have to minimally be 55, and between those ages, then you're potentially going to be eligible for what they call early retirement. And the farther you are away from 60, the higher the factor is, if you will. That's a formula that TRS provides. I mean, they did do this calculation. It's a payment that both, again, the member and the district would have to pay their portion of. This is the employer side. This is our portion. That's a calculation for you. So in the example, and when you retire, keep in mind again with the TRS that they will calculate the highest 4 years of salary over your last 10 years. So knowing that that's what they're looking at, your highest 4, they're going to create an average. But for the purposes of this payment, if you meet the other criteria in order to qualify and retire, they're going to apply that towards the highest of those 4 years. So it's not the average, they're going to apply it against the highest salary. They're going to look at your age, and then depending on where you fall, which factor applies on that. So if you have somebody who retires with an example of a highest salary of $100,000, and they were age 59, then you can, that's the first line, then you can see what the factor is and what the penalty, if you will, to the district is for that. If somebody is 55, the absolute youngest they could be, and yet still retiring and meet the other criteria in order to do this, the factor is 1.175, and against that $100,000 salary, now the employer's fee, or penalty, if you will, is $117,000. So I'm simplifying this a little just to give you an example, but there is nothing a district can do about it if an employee chooses to retire and meets the criteria for what they call early retirement through TRS. There's factors and formulas. Here's the chart that's going to be applied, and then TRS sends you an invoice and says, this person qualified, this is your portion of the bill. Again, the member, the person retiring, has a separate portion, different calculations, but they have an amount they also have to pay. And there isn't anything you can do about it. It's required.
Well, you can't stop a person from retiring.
That's correct.
So it's kind of a quirk in the state law that's not fair in a way. I don't know.
Again, they have to meet other criteria with TRS in order to be eligible. But once they do, this is the formula in which they're applying. So any employer in the district outside the city of Chicago, and that's every district except the city of Chicago, participates with TRS, anyone in their system who retires and meets those criteria will have this applied against their retirement. And so the last employer they retired from will get hit with the penalty, doesn't matter who it is.
So Patrick, the age criteria is based off 60, so it doesn't matter whether they've only had a few years of service?
There is also a component that they have to have a minimum number of service, 20 years.
Okay.
So there's other criteria you mentioned. So if you're eligible and TRS says yes, you can retire either with reduced or with full benefits, but to get to the full benefit side and you're less than 60, then they're going to apply this, but you have to have a minimum of 20 years of experience also. So there's another minimum there. And then there's factors, there's a totally different set of formula and factors and things they look at on the member side. But this is directly to what the district would be responsible for if any of the certified staff chooses to retire and is eligible for early retirement. Minimum of 20 years, but minimum of age 55, but less than 60. So I just wanted to explain that there is no control.
And basically, if you hire someone with the expectation that they may be retiring in 5 years, but under the scenario, I mean, the stone is cast when you basically hire them pretty much. I mean, it just is what it is.
Yes, it is. So I just wanted to provide some clarification on that. So
and there's no remediation to TRS, there's no appeal to TRS to kind of say, hey, you know.
And is it 20 years experience in the state of Illinois?
So what TRS qualifies as credible years of experience. So in their system, what they're counting is 20, and they do have reciprocity that they would take into account with other systems. So. hope that explains some of that charge. There really is nothing you can do, but this explains how it was calculated.
The one thought here is that we have this potential ERO on many district employees who attain age 55 and have accumulated the years of service to meet these requirements.
Sure.
And if they decide to retire and they pay their portion, the district has no choice but to accept and pay the bill when it comes in.
That's correct. As the last employer where they retired from.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay.
Thank you, Steve.
And then just as an update, I'll have more detailed information in January. This is it is already part of your consent agenda, but I just wanted to bring them back up again as part of this report. This is the revenues through November 30th. About 41% of the year is complete. Remember, revenues tend to come in early in our fiscal year, and then again at the end of the fiscal year. So it's not uncommon this time of the year for revenues, except for like general state aid. It's about the only constant throughout the year. Most of the larger revenues have come in already. We won't see another large influx of revenues until more into the spring time period. But you can see we're about on track with the budgeted amounts at this point. I'll have a more detailed analysis for you in January, which will cover half of the year, and we'll talk more to cash flow concept and information we kind of started sharing with the board a little last spring about how much cash we actually have in hand versus anticipated bills and payments, things. I'll have a better update for you on that in January to show midpoint where we're at and where we're anticipated to finish, to complete the rest of the year with that. But this is our revenues, at least to date, by fund. So within budget and at least at what was expected or anticipated for this part of the year so far. No major surprises. And then expenses as well. Again, also just through the November period. And again, you have previous years, just for reference, see where we were spending last year at this time, where we're spending this year. So even within salaries, you can see, down slightly. Just as an example, total ed fund down just a little bit from the year before, as far as actual expenses compared to this time last year. But we're about 41% of the budget, which is right in line with where we were supposed to be at that point in time. So just in that fund, for example, it's about where we anticipated it to be.
Does that include that ERO?
It does.
Panel in there?
That is included in there. So, debt service, obviously, we only have a couple of times of the year, January being the next one when a large payment is due against our existing debt, our other bonds that we already have out there. So this is an example of a fund that you don't see a lot of activity in except about 2 times a year.
Can you go back up into the education fund? If everybody remembers, I think the superintendent had a drive on to cut that supplies and materials for this year. Last year was 1.6, and that would have been to date.
Yeah.
And we're about almost $900,000 underneath that. So something that's working.
Yeah. So thank you for recognizing that. So, and that's to the administrative teams for really cutting that out of their budgets and holding their staff accountable. So.
Absolutely. Good point.
Yep. So I'll have a little more detail in January, a little more on the cash flow.
Okay.
So any other questions at this point?
Anything else? No?
I appreciate this type of report. It's very helpful to see where we were last year at this point.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Next on to new business, and we have some course changes for...
Sorry.
Well, I can pull it up.
No, I'll put you back over there.
We've got
Glenwood High School course book changes today. We've had a very collaborative process during the last several months with department coordinators, administration at the high school, as well as Mrs. Larson has joined us from time to time with the coordinator retreat. We don't have a lot of changes this year. Do I need to pull it up?
You're right there, you just need to go down to your...
The next sheet.
There you go.
A lot of wording changes, then a handful of new courses, and I'll kind of review the highlights and answer any questions as we go. The first three items, we've had a few adjustments just with some wording and definitions, changed the wording of prerequisite, eliminated a program that no longer exists, and then outlined what the verbiage of standard means. And Mrs. Cox will also share that later on. We wanted to make sure that we were consistent within the district when we use various terminology. Part 4 regarding adds and drops deals with students who try to secure a 7th or 8th hour study hall or PE. We tried to arrange that for athletic purposes. It's just become too difficult with the tightening of the scheduling, with larger class sizes and just the tightening overall. We will still try to adhere to that when able, but to have a policy for all students was just a challenge for us. Dual credit, we did add quite a bit of language, and this is also in the actual course book, which is the other part of the presentation. But we felt it was critical to add the information regarding Lincoln Land and have the specifics as to what their requirements are. One of the sticking points was dropping a course from Lincoln Land, and we really want to discourage our students from doing that, in that they end up with a W on their course transcript from Lincoln Land, which can affect financial aid. I think we've had only one drop this year, and it took place early on, but overall, students tend to stay in that class, which is a great benefit for them. Dual credit fee, we haven't really recommended a specific fee yet. As we progress later on in the school year and look at increasing fees perhaps, we felt that this was something that we could explore, and we did do a data analysis on what some of those look like. So that may be something we bring to the table later on.
And Chris, that's primarily because you have no control over what textbook is used.
That's correct. Sometimes you're dealing with $100 or $115 or $150 textbook from Lincoln Land, and if Lincoln Land decides to change their text, we don't control that, and our students would have to purchase that. Additionally, it could allow us for additional resources to use for our curriculum. So we wanted to keep that minimal if we decide to go forth with that, but right now it's just in the investigatory phase. Technology education deals primarily with the changing of course titles and some descriptors. And as we worked with Mr. Milner, we felt it was important to, since we're moving more towards 21st century skill sets in the technical areas, part of Common Core, that we really needed to update that particular language to draw our students to those classes. Furthermore, with the family and consumer sciences, we also more or less added some descriptor changes with those. We did change needlecraft to creative sewing. Felt that was more appropriate. Fine arts, we added a descriptor adjustment for marching band regarding the honors program and some of the requirements that students are required to attend. Mathematics, as Mrs. Kimball provided earlier, Algebra 1 is our focus this year with 9th grade, so we aligned much of our course descriptors based on that Common Core language. In science, we had a minor adjustment with a prerequisite due to the fact that we are moving towards AP Biology instead of the Honors Biology 2. And that gets us to the 4 new classes that we're 4 or 5 new classes that we're looking at. The first being Percussion Ensemble, which is a band course, second semester, taught by Mr. Jones, targeting approximately 15 to 25 students who would have the opportunity to focus on a drum class outside of the normal band. Currently, he has 2 lessons that he teaches second semester, and this would alleviate part of that and actually give him the opportunity to pick up another course and also support our students who are in that percussion area. We also are looking to replace film photography. Film is dead. For the most part, I guess it's somewhat of an antique. And the mobile electronic device course is something that Mrs. Kaler feels is a huge draw. You know, if you're at a wedding or a confirmation or party, I mean, it's mobile electronic devices using iPads, cell phones, smartphones is kind of the wave of the future, so we feel we can bring that into the mix with our students. 231 AP Biology is not really a new course. We've used Honors Biology 2, but since AP or College Board changed their descriptor, we felt that we needed to bring in the AP caliber, meaning actually call it that at Glenwood. Currently, if a student takes Honors Biology 2, in order to get the credit, he or she would have to pass the test with a 3, 4, or 5, and this will allow that student to get the AP credit if they enroll in that course. So the rigors should stay the same, although with the College Board adjustments, it's definitely more challenging than it has been. That's for everybody taking that particular course. The Pharmacy Tech course at CACC was already offered last year. We just didn't have it in the course book because it was added later. And the Critical Reading 3, we do have some students who need a third dose or a third tier of that critical reading course as a junior or senior, and a lot of those students might be our ELL students who might, or RTI students, or perhaps even a special education student who need that additional one-on-one dose. All of these new courses do not add additional cost of purchasing any textbooks or anything like that, or new staffing, so we feel that they were appropriate for students at Glenwood based on our meetings and our collaboration. Any questions regarding GHS courses?
I do have one on the percussion ensemble. You're looking at 15 kids at the bottom line. Is that?
Well, it's to be determined. We did do a survey. We had Mr. Jones put a survey together to see how many students would be interested. It's kind of unknown. Obviously, if we don't have a minimum enrollment, and right now the board kind of looked at that as being 10, perhaps it's something that could increase. You know, maybe we need to look at 15 down the road. You know, those discussions will take place, but it could range anywhere from 15 to 25. Until we actually have students sign up for the course in the spring, we won't know. But obviously, if the target number of enrollment is not met, the course will not run. So we're hoping 15 to 25 would be a number that could be secured, but unknown at this
If it's 25, yeah, I don't have a problem with that. But we get down, this is, again, it sounds like one of those that you get some that say they're going to sign up, we decide we're going to have it, and then you end up with 6 or 8 kids in it.
It is a challenge, and we have some courses right now that have started at 10 and maybe have dropped below because students do have that right to drop. But I know Mrs. Larson and Mrs. Van Alstyne have mentioned that they would like the course data on student enrollment earlier this year, actually on February 20th. So we're hoping to have that information earlier. And if we have a class situation or a teaching situation that numbers aren't there, some tough decisions may have to be made with the district. We hope that doesn't happen, but we have to do what's best for the organization financially.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Just close this one out. Yeah, just close this first tab. It says board document. Well, not that one. Let's see.
You got so many tabs open there.
I know, we do.
Well, I'll go ahead and start while we're getting this up. Again, we met quite a few times with department coordinators to look at language and to update. Most of the changes in the GMS handbook are minor language changes. Kind of a big overall is Actually, the core classes are in front and followed by the electives, which is how we schedule things in our priority. Just a few things. The computer applications course really combines two former courses. The computer applications, there was a separate course, keyboard and computer ethics, and it really shows that they go together, and without one you need the other one. And so Mrs. Sanford has requested that they be together so that we're really looking at the application of those skills. The descriptors for the critical math course as well as the critical reading course, as we have really developed these programs more fully, we have added more description to them and have highlighted the identification processes a little bit more clearly with those. So that's really the second bullet. Honors Drama was a new course that we offered last year but did not go. Mr. Williams really feels that a student who, before, students had to be in Drama 1 and Drama 2 to go to Honors Drama, but we've had some kids that, due to scheduling issues, who would very much benefit from Honors Drama, only had the opportunity to take Drama 1 and then weren't able to take Honors Drama. So we've made some exceptions to that, but we just wanted to change that language to mirror what we're actually doing. Geometry, this is the first year that our students were transported to the high school for geometry, and this is the same type of language that we have used in the past for French and German, so we just added that. And again, as Mr. Becker had said, some of the language in terms of industrial technology, just more current knowledge, cleaning it up a little bit. I know the math minor language, we want to mirror the algebra descriptor that they have at the high school. So again, just trying to coordinate those efforts with the high school to make sure it's the same class, they're getting the same types of credit for it, so we want to make sure we're using the same language. And that's about it. Any other questions?
Yeah. Okay.
I think they saved me for last because I have the fewest changes.
You're at the foundation in which we build everything.
Yes. Or I could say that Jill left the building with an excellent game plan. The largest changes actually came in our identification for our critical reading win period and our critical reading math win period. Just updating in terms of which data points we're using to identify students for this win period, and then just fine-tuning some of the language in terms of the focus for these two classes. Questions?
Anything? Okay.
There's minor changes just with the rest of the handbook with minor things, but thank you.
Thank you. All right, we can deal with these if everybody, if it's okay with everybody, we can deal it as one motion to agree or to approve the course changes at Glenwood High School, Glenwood Middle School, and Glenwood Intermediate School for the 2013-14 course changes as presented in your board packet tonight. Need a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Thank you, Rick. And a second, please.
Well, second.
Thank you, Jim. And call the roll, please.
Carter.
Yes.
Petermeyer.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Kopp.
Yes.
And Newsom.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Next, we have our roundtable discussion. I'm not sure if anybody else has. I have one, and that is to schedule, or at least tentatively schedule, since we don't have two board members with us tonight. We'll have to get to them and make sure it fits with their schedule, but to tentatively schedule Larry Dirks from the IASB back in here to continue our discussion that we had a couple of months ago based on our committee with John and with Lisa. So
we try to articulate our district goals that we've all kind of been working on, but never really articulated them as the next step in our vision.
Let me pull up Larry's email that he and I emailed back and forth today. Let's see. We had January 2nd and January 3rd. Now, we're not in school at that time. Is the district, are we open at that time, or are we pretty much?
The school is not in session, but
Okay.
we have, our office is open. But.
Okay. Well, we may not be.
January 3rd, for me, it would have to be January 2nd.
Okay. We have a meeting the week of January 7th, which is our transportation meeting. Anything other than the rest of the month would be, let's see, other than January 15th, we could go anytime other than that date.
When is our negotiations meeting? The 15th?
Oh, I don't remember. When is Patrick? I thought it was the 8th. So let's stay out of that week because we've got 2 meetings that week. That's right.
Right.
So let's go to January. Let's see.
When's the regular board meeting?
It's the 28th.
28th. It's late.
So we could do it the week of the 21st. Well, we could do it the week of the 14th, other than Tuesday the 15th. So 16th, 17th, or get into January 21st through the 24th. And if all those dates are open, I can get to Lisa and Alan and see what theirs are, and then just pick a date.
Yeah, we're back.
Okay.
No, I'm missing the transportation meeting. But
Yeah.
We're back. We're just out of town from the 3rd to the 10th.
Okay.
Rest of January is okay.
Okay. Well, I'll look at 16th, 17th, or 21st to the 24th, if that's okay with everybody.
That's fine.
Okay.
Now, there's no school. Is there school on the 21st?
There's not.
There's no school. Okay, then 22nd through the 24th. So 5 days there ought to give us one day that we can all meet, so. Okay. Anything else on a roundtable discussion?
The director at CACC is out of the hospital. He's at home, recuperating and everything. He says he's working from home. It's kind of tough to.
How's he doing? I mean, I know that
I don't
pretty
know.
severe.
Yeah, they released him sooner than they ever had anticipated, so I guess that's a good sign. But still keep him in our thoughts.
Absolutely.
It's a tough recovery.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, then on to, and I assume you don't have anything else under superintendent?
Just
Or
to
you have one?
give kudos to, publicly give kudos to Randy Allen and his security staff, in times, very difficult times for all of us, such as this week. He's really got some internal security procedures that he's tightened up for the district, and, things that not everyone is aware of, but he's done many drills, and he and his staff are really top-notch, so we appreciate all the work that they do, and I don't think they get very publicly thanked very often, because they're the kind of behind-the-scenes support for our security, so, their oversight of our protocols and the fact that our administrators can call him and ask him exactly what to do and how to process through a security issue is great. And he works very closely with, transportation as well as with facilities and our public relations. It's really a great group of people working together for the interest of students. So we appreciate all he does. That's all I have. Nope.
Okay. Next item here is future board meeting dates. Again, between tomorrow, actually today was the first day, between now and December 26th, board candidates can file any paperwork, or the required paperwork for elections in April. January 7th, we have a transportation meeting here in the district office at 6 o'clock. January 28th is our regular January board meeting, and then February 25th is our regular February board meeting. Any other dates? And then we'll include in that our IASB meeting when we get that set up.
Negotiations on the 8th.
And negotiations on the 8th, yes.
So otherwise, yep.
Nothing going on. Anything else, anybody? Okay.
I would start working on the superintendent evaluation.
Well, and
I got to touch base with Lisa.
And what I've talked with Carrie about was to try and kind of put some things together too that she would see in her evaluation, kind of some of the things that we would be looking for, so. But then, it's up to you guys to kind of go, you and Lisa go through that.
It's hard this year.
Yeah.
I think we did, and it's still a work in progress, and it's still missing that kind of, what I call the superintendent kind of goal setting process, which is, I think part of the state law applies to the superintendent too, doesn't it? In terms of progress or goal
Correct.
setting. and that kind of thing. So, yeah,
Multi-year contracts,
it's
yep.
all gonna be part of the same
Right.
thing, but it's gonna take several years to make it useful for the board and also useful for Carrie.
Okay. If nothing else, then this is an opportunity for visitors to address the board concerning any topic. Anybody wish to address the board tonight? Yes, sir? If you would, come up to the podium and if you would identify yourself, and if we could get you to 5-minute time limit on. That's okay, thank you.
Thank you. My name is Bill Kinsley. I'm the father of a family, a blended family here in Chatham. Been here for about 16 years. We have, out of those 6 children, we have 2 that graduated outside of the Glenwood School District, 3 of them that have graduated inside the Glenwood School District. One of those 3 being a child with severe developmental disabilities. And I have 1 currently at the Glenwood Middle School who currently has a 504 plan. My wife, Lisa, would be here tonight, but she is ill also. There's just something going around. She's employed in the prevention field, currently is implementing a fetal alcohol syndrome prevention program in the state. And I work in the nonprofit area currently as a development director for a nonprofit with about a $5 million budget. We are also co-founders of EASY, which stands for Educational Advocacy Services of Illinois. We assist parents statewide who have children with disabilities in the school settings. If they have some type of conflict that's going on in schools, we try to come in and help work with both schools and the parent to get the conflict resolved and get the program to its maximum benefit to reach the maximum outcome for the children. In that, I've attended over about 950 meetings statewide with parents in that type of a setting. So I've been into a lot of different schools, a lot of different school districts, school buildings on every level. When I first moved to the Springfield area from Northern Illinois about 16 years ago and started our house search, I was a little bit shocked to see the real estate tax amounts that were on the houses that I was looking at, coming from an area that was very rural and tax base was extremely low. My wife, I'll have to tell you, convinced me that this district was well worth the additional tax money, and I'd have to say publicly tonight that she was right. I've been a proponent of every school referendum that has been put forth before the voting public, very much in favor of the progressive work that this district has done. So I was pretty shocked after last board meeting to see the cut that was being taken place in 2 assistant principal positions, 1 in the high school and 1 in the middle school. I gotta tell you, I really, after the shock, it really kind of got a little bit, quite honestly, angry about the situation, because it's pretty upsetting when you think about the amount of work that those 2 positions do. I'm not quite as familiar with the assistant principals' amount of duties in the high school area, although I know the amount of personnel there and I know the amount of students there. I do know the amount of work that takes place down in the middle school, because I've been in that school a lot this year. Especially coming right after the referendum, you know, and supporting that, and also going to work at approving additional funds for bricks and mortar. It really didn't seem like it's a time that we would cut back on positions that work directly right in with our students and with helping our teachers to do their job. I understand the fiscal hardships, trust me. This nonprofit I work for got a payment from the state in January. We haven't received 1 cent. Again, it's about a $5 million budget. I'm afraid if you let that decision stand, next year you'll have, in the middle school, you have a principal, essentially about a part-time assistant principal, because that person also handles the grades, the middle school athletic director duties. And that's a big job. There's a lot of sports that happens in the middle school, and he also, of course, covers the 6th graders in the intermediate school that also play in our public sports. I really don't know how the recommendation took place because I wasn't privy and didn't know that it was going on prior to the announcement of the positions being cut. I'll tell you, most parents that I've talked to are rather upset with it, especially those parents who have kids in middle school. We know the challenges that are there, how tough that is. Most parents will also tell you, as they've raised children, when they hit about age 13, 14, that's about the hardest time that a parent has in raising a child. It really does get easier in high school. I sometimes think that the alien comes down and just kind of takes the brain away for a while. I greatly, I'm just really sad and I guess and angered that the talent of our current middle school assistant principal, Mr. Pat Higgins, would be lost in this district. I've worked with this administrator and I've witnessed firsthand the outstanding qualities that he brings to this district. And again, with working with as many other school districts that I have, as many other principals, assistant principals, and administrators that I've had, I know the good ones, and I can tell the ones that aren't quite as good. Mr. Higgins is a really great one. Lastly, with the soft lockdown that we had in middle school today, I'm concerned also about the safety of the middle school students and the need for the proper amount of leadership in school. Now, that's not to take anything away from Dr. Cox whatsoever and her leadership abilities, nor the other assistant principal, Mr. Green. They're both highly qualified, great, and I greatly respect the amount of work that Dr. Cox does and the leadership that she provides. I just don't think that you're giving her the support that she needs to be able to effectively run the middle school by cutting this position. I think the decision needs to be relooked at, it needs to be restudied, it needs possibly to be brought out more into the public eye about how we got to that decision, what duties we think that we're able to combine, take away from the one person and adding them onto the remaining two. Bottom line is I just feel that you're going to leave that school understaffed. And I think that would be just a tragedy with the amount of support that the school district has from the parents of the kids, of the children in that school age. So I greatly thank you for the time to be able to address the issue. And if you have any questions, I take them. If not, I'm done.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else wish to address the board this evening? If not, then take a motion to adjourn. Okay, thank you. And a second, please.
Second.
Rick, thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Vic.